What do you think was the point that went wrong for you in that game? What do you think you can take forward from that game to, obviously, the knockout stage?
Well, I think our macro in the mid game was pretty bad. We were just running around, answering them pushing waves, and we never really had control of the game, it felt like, in the mid game. Even though we had like such strong champs and Kennen was like really fed, it still felt like we were on the back foot, and then we were just running around. Yeah, and then I got caught that one time, and then after that the game was like really out of control. So I think our macro was bad, and then obviously the turning point was when I got caught.
Do you think there was a point where that game was in your hands, or did you feel like it was very much your game to win rather than G2's game to lose?
Yeah, I mean, I think before any turret dropped, we had a pretty comfortable early game where they tried to gank bot, but then we managed to survive, didn't get dove or anything, and then our solo laners were very far ahead. We managed to get the rift fight like we wanted, so definitely thought like it was our game to lose after the early game. But yeah, as I said earlier, during the mid game, it felt like we didn't have any control of it.
Talk to me about the Galio support pick, because if I remember correctly, that's the first Galio support we've seen at this tournament. What made you go for that in the draft?
Well, we talked about how we would want to pick Galio blind, and then if they pick a counter that's abusable, then we would flex it to support and just have me play it instead, and then counter the whatever mid champ they would want to pick into the Galio. So that's what happened after they picked Jax and Gwen. And yeah, I haven't played Galio in months, and overall I think I did fine for not much practice on the champ, but could have done much better.
I was going to say it looked pretty good considering you haven't played it in months. We've seen this both at MSI in the group stage and obviously with you guys domestically in your playoffs run. You're a team that kind of takes a little bit of time to ramp up, I think it's safe to say. Like you've obviously really come, this game excluded, you've come into your stride really well in the second half of the Rumble stage. Is this, like, why is that? And are these slower starts a concern for you guys, or is it just something that you know and something that you know how to play around?
Well, I think that we just play well under pressure compared to some other teams. And I think that when the game isn't as high importance, or the game doesn't like decide our season, then we don't play as well for whatever reason. Maybe we don't focus as much or something, or we're not like as wired in or as in the zone. So maybe that's why. And I also think that we have obviously young players and they're coming into new environments and they have to take time to adapt. So that's why you'll see us a lot of the time start slow and then kind of ramp up as the tournament or season or whatever goes on. So yeah, that's my take.
What's your role been like at this tournament as one of the boomer veteran players on the team? How do you feel like you've been able to facilitate the younger members, and also how do you think you've performed yourself?
Well, I'd say my role is kind of like keeping things not chill, but like making sure that there's not too much of everyone at each other's throat, and like there'll be emotions rising and stuff like that, and there'll be not a lot, but there'll sometimes be tensions where after a loss or something like that, maybe after a bad day of scrims, you're like in the practice room together the whole day, and you know, there could be like some arguments that get heated, stuff like that. And I try to make sure everyone's cool and that there's no like underlying issue between anyone, and we don't hate each other, stuff like that, and try to just also make sure that we are not burning ourselves out, because I've been in this situation before where I played MSI last year and then I have a very long year, and by the end it's very, very tiring. So kind of like talking about these things to my team, and my performance for this tournament I think has not been great. I've had well, it's been like all over the place. I think I've thrown a few games and played well in some others, so I'm not very satisfied with my play this tournament.
What do you think is the game so far in the tournament that has been closest to peak EG, to the absolute best that you guys can perform? What do you think has been that game for you?
The game that comes to mind is the game against PSG today, probably, where even though we lost like the first fight that we fought, we still kept looking for end goals and kept fighting, and eventually the game just tipped in our favor and we kind of closed it out very cleanly. I'd say it was like peak EG because we were known to like just get a lead and then play the game kind of like not too slow, but just like slowly convert our lead into a win. And I think that was the peak EG in that game.
Without giving any picks away, obviously I'm not about to dox your strategies in an interview, but how prepared do you guys feel for BO5? Because obviously it's a very, very different game. It's a very, very different environment. Do you think you have the draft strategies ready? Do you think you're mentally ready?
I think mentally we're ready. For the draft, I'm not too sure because it's hard to know. We don't even know who will play it. I'm assuming it's going to be RNG. And then we'll have like a day or two of scrims before going into that. So we'll see for draft and champs specifically. But I think we've played a bunch of different things throughout the tournament. So I don't think it'll be that much of an issue. So I think we're ready for best of 5.
And if it does end up being a best of 5 against RNG, who are looking pretty scary right now, what do you think your chances are, and what do you think is your best chance at beating them? What do you think you have to do?
I think we have to stabilize ball lane against Galio and Ming, and I think that we have a stronger top side in Impact and Inspired, and we can win through them as long as we're able to not be too much on the ball lane. And Xiao is pretty good too, so maybe we'll have to do some shutting down there, but it'll be tough. But as I said, I think our top side is very good into their players, and we have a good chance.
If you say that it's on you and Danny to, so obviously say if the top side's better, it's on you and Danny to kind of withhold into RNG's bot lane, is that stressful for you, knowing that you guys are kind of the win condition or the pivot point for a game, or do you kind of excel under that pressure and that expectation?
Maybe a little bit of stress, but I've been in a lot of stressful situations or nervous situations in the past, and I don't really let it get to me, right? So it doesn't, I don't mind too much, but definitely, yeah, it's like one more, well, I mean, it's always my job to not end the game away, so not too much added pressure, I would say.